Hello, and we're going to be looking now at how to install an Visual Studio Community for Unity and Unreal Engine use case. Uh, you can use, of course, other IDE systems like Xcode if you're using a Mac, or you can use some more simple code editors like Visual Studio Code or uh, some alternative solutions also. But we're going to be installing Visual Studio because it's most complete option to work with Unity and Unreal when you actually need to write code. And for that, we go to this following site. The link gonna be added in description. And in here we have like three options: Community, Professional, Enterprise. If you're looking at this video, it's probably not for Enterprise, and probably will be using the Community version is most likely. Or if you're a small team, you can use Professional also. Community is free, but it has its limitations legally. There is almost very little difference between professional and community from technical point of view. It's mostly the legal differences. So we, as people who are coming here to learn, for those people it is free to use community, and for that we will basically click on download the community version, and when we start downloading it, we are first installing the launcher, and from this launcher further, after you install this initial version, you can after that easily install any other version of Visual Studio 2019, maybe in the future versions. And it helps to keep multiple versions of Visual Studio in the same computer and finding them easy to switch between them. Okay, and Visual Studio installer is almost ready. You don't need at this point any logging in. Technically you need logging in after you need to actually launch the application. Like when you actually launch the Visual Studio Community, then you will be asked to log in, or you will be asked to log in when you launch Professional or Enterprise version. You are not asked to do it during the installation. And inside here, if you look, we have like lots of different subjects because Visual Studio is a relatively big IDE and it is meant for many different communities. And for our case, we are interested in gaming. So we go into gaming section under workloads. And here we're gonna tick GitHub, Unity one option, game development with Unity, and we will turn off Unity Hub because I have separate video on that installation. And if you install from here, it sometimes is outdated versions here appear, so if you can install the original, do so. And same, we go to the game development, and here we also accept the default options. You may install, well, Android IDE support if you're working with Android, but I haven't really used it this way, so it is up to you. And one thing more, if you look here, is game development with C++. This actually means it is meant to be used not only for Unreal, but also for Cocos 2D. Unreal doesn't have the best 2D game, right? To make 2D games in Unreal, it's difficult. But if you're making games with DirectX, you can, well, do many different games, but it is really low level, means you're basically building up your own engine. And for Cocos 2D, it is really good at 2D games creations, but not so good at 3D games creation. So they complement technically each other. And inside here, the Unreal engine installer is basically not needed. I prefer to install it separately from actually Epic game site, because it might be an older version rather than the most updated version here at Bing. And here is another options also, but we don't really currently care. Maybe one thing more what might be interest to you is individual components. Here you can find things like everything related to GitHub for your source control. So you can actually install these ones if you want. And maybe also if you don't work alone, LiveShare might help you to communicate better, because this is basically LiveShare is about sharing code, parts of code with each other in a way that you can both modify them, or one can view the code what you are currently writing, so they can give you suggestions based on that. So it's really good communication channel for code sharing, so to speak. It is like a real-time source control, basically. In that sense. Other additional interest might be if you need to download it to somewhere else because of the space issues. Then you can relocate it. For me, it's fine. So I will go with these ones, basically default options without the specific Unity Hub and Unreal Engine installer. And under individual components, I added LiveShare GitHub extension and Git, which is basically enough for running. Related to LiveShare, I should maybe say that LiveShare actually also, LiveShare isn't useful for blueprints in Unreal Engine. It is only meant for any kind of text editor type of code, meaning that C++, C#, JavaScript, everything for that, it's really good, but not so good for blueprints. So just should make a mention on that part. Okay, and we will see when it actually downloads it and installs it properly in the end, and then we will see how we can continue. Okay, and it looks like the Visual Studio community download has actually finished. So we don't really need to do anything here when it's already works. Basically, you need to run the Visual Studio only when you start opening the code. And when you start opening the code, it will probably ask you to log in. But before that, it's basically ready for us, so we can actually close this project unless you want to open some kind of specific solution already. And we don't need to specifically open it via Visual Studio Code. Usually it's done like you open up the Unity, and from inside the Unity, or same goes for Unreal Engine, you open up from there and it will automatically open the Visual Studio or any other IDE or code editor what it has been set to. And you can always here come back and later on modify and change those settings if you forgot something or something similar. Okay, and with this we have actually finished with Visual Studio, and we can focus on the other parts.